Jewelry boxes have been around as long as jewelry has been around. No proper lady will have her jewelry just strewn about without proper storage. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing some of my chinoiserie jewelry boxes. A few of the viewers have asked me about them whenever I feature them in my video, so I decided to put it all together into one. My very first jewelry box I remember was when I was 9 years old and on a family trip to Singapore. After dinner we went to the shops and I still could remember the jewelry boxes being displayed in a glass cabinet, and my eyes just honed in on this particular one. When they opened the jewelry box and it started playing the music with the ballerina spinning around, I knew I had to have it. Over time, it's seen wear and tear, but I still value it the most. And I think the second jewelry box that I got was when I was studying in Australia. I followed my flatmates to a flea market, and at first I couldn't understand why would people buy something that has already belonged to someone else. But I've got this very bad habit of mine that I don't like to go back home empty-handed, so I got this rosewood Chinese jewelry box, and this is quite a common design, but I still think that it kick-started my hobby of collecting jewelry boxes. And also, I think at the back of my mind, I've always been seeing my mom's jewelry chest as well as jewelry box, which I am having here right behind me, this black jewelry chest, as well as this jewelry box, which is totally encrusted with mother of pearl. So the first one that I'm featuring is my mom's jewelry chest. As I mentioned, I grew up looking at it as a little girl, so I think it's sort of imprinted in my memory. And it is made up of black ebony, and as I mentioned, encrusted with mother of pearl with the deers on it. In the Korean culture, the animals or the engravings on a jewelry box represents something. It's not just there for aesthetic value, it's also there to represent something. And in the Korean culture, it's given to the bride upon her marriage, so she's not only given jewelry but also the jewelry box in which to contain all her jewelry. So the presentation is very important, and the pair of deer in this case represents happiness as well as marital bliss. And then the second one, which is the jewelry box right here, it has the word happiness or double happiness right in the center on the cover of the jewelry box. And then again, it has the pair of deer on the sides of the jewelry box. So these two are very, very precious to me. I value them more for the sentimental value, but obviously I appreciate the aesthetic value because a lot of work goes into it. It has been around for thousands of years, if I'm not mistaken, since the Joseon dynasty, and they still use the same kind of techniques. It's painstaking. they carve out every single piece of mother of pearl, and therefore the more compact the design is and the more mother of pearl there is on the piece of jewelry box, the more valuable it is, because you can see how time consuming it is. Also, because of my love for jewelry boxes, I have noticed how it has evolved over time. The aesthetics has totally evolved. So for example, if you're looking at my mom's jewelry boxes, they are much more 3D and people are much more generous with the portions of the mother of pearl. You can see they are much more chunky pieces and extremely 3D. So for example, if you run your fingers across them, you can feel every single chunk of mother of pearl. And then over time it has evolved and the surface has become more smooth. They've made the technique more sophisticated and it's flushed underneath the lacquerware. I also have this trio of jewelry boxes for when I visited my friends in Singapore, because I did study there and I did work there for quite some time. And when I visited their home, they had this fabulous lacquerware and I asked them where they got it from, and I went to the same shop and I assumed that it was made in China, but the sticker underneath mentioned that it's made in Vietnam. So I've got the red lacquer boxes, one with the butterflies on it, which I have used quite extensively, and you can see a little bit of wear and tear on it. And in the beginning I made a mistake of using a wet cloth to wipe it, so that you can see there's some kind of discoloration. And you can see the smaller one, the mini one with the dragonfly, is still in pristine condition. The way that I would take care of my jewelry boxes is actually using essential oil and rubbing the surfaces of the wood so that the would become more shiny again, and it doesn't lose the luster and it doesn't lose its moisture. You are not supposed to use a wet cloth with water, otherwise it would damage the surface. And another way that I keep my jewelry boxes clean is that when you have the velvet lining inside, one way that you can do is use the masking tape. Even though you have the roller, you can't really clean the edges of the jewelry box. So what I would do, I would just cut strips of masking tape and put it inside, and then you just pull it up, and when you pull it up you can see all the flint stuck on the masking tape. So that is exactly how I take care of them. The next one that I got, which I featured many times on my video, is the one with the butterfly. So this is the most modern one that I have. As I mentioned, it's much more flushed. The color is much more brighter instead of the old school ones. So this one I featured many times on my video. That is exactly why people have been asking me about it. And then I have also featured the other one, which is made up of entirely made up of rosewood, and it's very huge. It's so huge that I can't manage to put it here on the mantelpiece. Okay, so just to show you how large it is, this is the rosewood one, which I always feature for my chinoiserie videos. You can see how much larger it is than the other jewelry boxes on the mantelpiece. If I'm not mistaken, I think they call it a tansu. So you can see from the various different cultures, from the Chinese type of jewelry boxes to the Japanese and as well as the Korean culture, every single one of them always prominently displays them. Especially if you're looking at period dramas, you can see that it is prominently displayed. So it is like a showpiece in their home, and that's exactly what my mom had in our home most of my life growing up, looking at it as a small child. And the next one that I acquired are the ones that are old school, and the color of the red, I'm not sure, because of the passage of time perhaps the color has been muted a little bit, but it's more of a darker, richer sort of a cognac wine kind of a color. And one of them features a pair of crane. So crane in the Korean culture represents longevity and good health. So this particular one, the seller did mention that the musical component of the jewelry box is are not working anymore, but I still ordered it because I knew that the old school jewelry boxes are much more difficult to acquire. They're getting less and less, and the modern ones are all over the place. So I got it, and I was thinking, because it made its way all the way from Australia, that it may have been jolted, and I tried it out, and at first the seller and I were thinking that was Japanese, because the Japanese are very famous for making musical boxes from the 1950s right up to the 1980s, which includes the very first jewelry box that I have. And when I played it, it played Arirang. I literally was crying when I heard it, and when I heard the song, it was like my mom telling me to just be strong and to keep on carrying on. You can see that the cranes are very finely made, so this is very old school. And then the next one that I got, I didn't really like it in the beginning, but I realized that it is the closest thing in aesthetics to my mom's jewelry box, because the pair of pheasants that are featured on the jewelry box are 3D and very chunky pieces. So I'm assuming that it is from the same time period as my mom's jewelry box, because as I mentioned, the modern ones are flushed and you don't have it protruding out in a 3D kind of an effect. So this is also very, very beautiful, and the pheasant represents good news for the new year, which I think is just so appropriate. It arrived to me late last year, so, and with the Chinese New Year just around the corner. And finally, the largest jewelry box or container that I have is this fabulous ebony wood, engraved and encrusted entirely with ivory. I got this in the antique shop, and when I got this, I literally was thinking of my mom's vase, which is behind me, which is made up of black ebony and mother of pearl, as well as her jewelry chest. And I thought it was mother of pearl, but when it arrived, I found out that it was ivory, and then I thought it was Chinese, but the seller told me that they imported this from Japan, and I did a little research online, and I found out that it was actually more Japanese than Chinese. I waited till the evening, and when I did a close-up of the cabinet, I got a shock of my life. I really got a bonus, and it was like a moment for me. It was like the heavens opened up and were telling me, Eileen, no matter how hard things have been for you, this is going to be the next chapter of your life, and things are going to turn around for you. Because when I did a close-up of the surface of this cabinet, I realized that there was a dragon's breath on the surface of the cabinet. So for those of you who are uninitiated, dragon's breath is the highest form of feng shui luck that could come to you. It is in the form of a fiery red. It's supposed to represent the dragon's breath. In Chinese culture, the dragon represents the highest form of celestial being, and the dragon's breath therefore is supposed to be like a turn of luck or a rush of luck coming towards the jade. When you look at the craftsmanship of this cabinet, you see the pair of peacocks, you see the etchings on each and every piece of the leaf made up of ivory, and also the peacocks, you can see the flecks of the ivory and the etchings on their plumes and their feathers. You can truly see that these artisans really are master craftsmen at the top of their game, and I don't think you can find something like this in modern furniture or reproductions. I would safely say this can go back to over 100 years ago. This was imported from Japan, and as well as that, I think also a lot of the artisans, when they died, the craft died with them. If they cannot find a protege that they can actually pass on the talent to, and this is exactly why these things are very rare and scarce. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I've only featured my chinoiserie jewelry boxes. I have not featured my Western ones because I'm worried that the video might run for too long. And if you would like to know more about the vase that I have next to me, I have also done a video on it, as well as this Japanese cabinet. So I'll be linking those videos towards the end of this video. Till then, this is Eileen from the Pearl Atelier, and do take care till we meet again.
Yesterday, you wake up and time has slipped away.